In this problem we're given two lines, line 1 and line 2. Line 1 goes to the two following points and line 2 goes through a couple different points. We are to determine which of the following is true. Either line 1 is parallel to line 2, line 1 could be perpendicular to line 2, or line 1 could be neither parallel nor perpendicular to line 2. So if the lines are parallel, that would look like this. If you graph them, they would have the same slope. So what I'm going to do is calculate the slope for line 1, then I'm going to calculate the slope for line 2. If I get the same answer both times, then we'll know that the lines are parallel. If line 1 and line 2 are perpendicular, then their graphs would look like this, and I'll explain in a minute what the relationship between the two slopes would be. So let's start by calculating the slope of line 1. So we know that the slope formula between 2 points is as follows. You subtract y values, and you can do it in either order as long as you use that same order when you subtract the x values. So I'm going to call this my y sub 2 and this my y sub 1. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 would be 31 minus 11. I'll call this x sub 1 and this x sub 2. So subtracting in the same order I did before, I will do x sub 2 subtract x sub 1, which is 13 minus 3. 31 minus 11 is 20. 13 minus 3 is 10. So I get the slope is 2. So let me clear all this off, and then the summary would just be that the slope between these 2 points is 2. Since it's a line, the slope between any 2 points would be 2. So all that to find the slope of line 1 is 2. Now, one of 3 things can happen. When I calculate the slope of line 2, if it comes out that its slope is 2, well, since they'd have the same slope, then their graphs would look like this, and I would conclude they're parallel. The other thing that could happen is that line 2 could be the negative reciprocal of line 1. If that's the case, they would be perpendicular. You can think of line 1 as having slope of 2 over 1. If line 2 is perpendicular, its slope would be the reciprocal of that, meaning flip the fraction, so it would be 1 over 2, but then it would have to have a different sign on its slope. In the picture you can see that if lines are perpendicular, one would have positive slope, one would have negative slope. So if the lines are perpendicular, and the first line we already know has a slope of 2, then the second line would have to have a slope of negative 1/2. So if the slopes are the same, we'll say they're parallel. If the slopes are negative reciprocals of each other, they are perpendicular. If neither of those 2 cases happen, then we'll say that line 1 is neither parallel nor perpendicular, meaning their graphs might just do something like this. As a side note, I said that if 2 lines are perpendicular, one has to have positive slope, one has to have negative slope. There is one exception where one line is vertical, which would have undefined slope, and one line would be horizontal, which would have a slope of 0. Neither of those cases would you say the slopes are positive or negative. So on to finding the slope of line 2. I will call this my x1 and my y1. I will call this x2 and y2. And calculating the slope then, y sub 2 subtract y sub 1 would be negative 3 subtract 2. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 is 14 subtract 4. Negative 3 subtract 2 is negative 5. 14 minus 4 is 10. Simplifying, I get that this is negative 1/2. So I get the slope of line 2 is negative 1/2. They're not the same slope, so they can't be parallel, but they are the negative reciprocals of each other, so therefore they are perpendicular. So for these 2 lines, I would say they are perpendicular.